going to go on to the second segment now. So we're going to start talking about Brendon McCullum, who was actually appointed as England Test head coach in the last couple of days. We talked about an episode. We did an episode on Ben Stokes and Rob Keane, their impact they're going to have, and how it could be different to Root's captaincy. It will probably, I think it'll be in the link in the description below. And we did talk about that, but we haven't really spoken about Test head coach just because it wasn't announced, and it was recently announced now. Brendon McCullum, England Test head coach. What would your initial reaction be, say, to that appointment? What would you initially think?
Yeah, initially I was slightly shocked. I don't really agree with the fact that he's Test head coach. He could be a coach. I think he's a better white ball head coach, and he's got much more experience doing that. He's coached at KKR, and he's just just as a player when he used to play, he was more. He's more of a white ball player, and he's just got so much experience in the white ball format. I'm a bit surprised why he's got the white ball coach instead, because the test cricket for England has been a very not obviously very bad season, a very bad they've had a really bad time of it, in the last year or so, and they want someone who's got experience in test cricket, or has experience being a coach in test cricket or something like that. And I don't think Brendon McCullum has that, so I don't know. I initially I don't agree with this, but we'll see how it all progresses. If it'll be very interesting to see how England do against New Zealand in June. That'll be very interesting to see how McCullum goes about things. So, and also the other thing, what's really important for me is like the relationship between the captain and the coach. So that'll be another interesting thing to see. How does that progress? So yeah, so I disagree really, but we'll see. I think progresses.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. But honestly, for me, initial reaction is just going to be we need someone more experienced. We honestly need someone. If we look at Australia's predicament in 2018 after like Sandpapergate, and they had a huge those people were banned. They had need a new captain, new coach. Justin Langer came in and he really instilled discipline. He made them into one of the best teams they've ever been in all three formats, honestly. And they recently won the T20 World Cup. They've always been doing consistently well in ODIs, Test. They've been doing really well in. So they've been very good. But the reason why Justin Langer was successful is because his knowledge of the Test of cricket in general was very good, and we need someone like him who has that experience who can do it. Brendon McCullum, it's a gamble. It's a gamble putting him as Test captain. It could obviously work, and we'd all be wrong, and we'd be just saying, oh my God, he's done such an amazing job. But on the other side, we've got to be cautious. We're not really in the situation where we can, it's not as if we've got a good platform and we're willing to, gamble with it and then look for something even better. So if we're like, doing decently, winning like half Test matches, for example, we're not winning a single Test match. I don't really think we're in the position to gamble with who our head coach is going to be, because they're going to dictate how we play. They're going to dictate the style of our batting, bowling, the way we go about things. That's really important role. So honestly, I would have preferred someone with more experience. Well, Brendon McCullum has had like 100 Test caps, so he's a good batsman. He's played loads of Test cricket. There's not a doubt. We're not doubting that. But in terms of coaching, which is a completely different thing, he's coached KKR. They've had mixed fortunes, to be fair. Like I wasn't really. They've done well. They did well last season. This season, been in the middle. They had done well in periods of times. If, for example, if you were to put like as your white ball coach, someone like Mahela Joe, who's been MI coach for like 5 years, they've won like three IPL titles during his reign, I think. And it's been, even forget about this season, it's just generally been very good. If you put someone like him as your head coach, you could justify it because he's been pretty successful. I don't think Brendon McCullum is really justified. I'm not sure. It could 100% be good, but I don't know. So in terms of, we talked about experience a little bit, when you want someone experienced, do you think that it's going to impact Brendon McCullum's head coach, the fact that he hasn't had enough red ball coaching experience? Do you think it's going to impact the way he goes about his coaching, or do you think he has his own idea and like a way of style of doing it? He's got an idea. What do you think, though?
The issue is like sometimes the coach needs experience in what you're going into. Like he doesn't have a lot of experience, test coaching. He doesn't have huge experience in that, so it'll be difficult for him. It might not be, but initially looks like it's going to be difficult for him when he goes into it to, help England, sort of the rebirth of England, which is what we're looking for, to just get better and like just restart again. And Brendon McCullum, I think for the moment, I don't think he's gonna really do that too easily. I think that's gonna be a little bit difficult for him, and I think he'd be much better as a white ball coach because that's more powerhouse stuff. I think he's much more experienced in that sort of sector as well. But as you said, it's not really justified, and I think it'd be difficult for him to come up with ideas, help the England players to mentally and as a cricketing team to improve and get back to the top. And Brendon McCullum, I think he's just gonna struggle a little bit, and we'll see how things go. But initially, to me, it feels like I disagree, and I think it'll be a little difficult for him to, coach a test team.
I think another reason why he picked the test, why he wanted to do test, he does have the credentials to a degree. I think it's also because as a white ball head coach, what would his role be? He doesn't have to really implement his style as much. The white ball teams are sorted. All they need is someone who can sort of guide them through any losses, try and bring up younger players. So as people start retiring, Owen Morgan is going to be playing for like another 5-10 years. He's coming towards the end of his career, and you've just got to sort of refresh the team every once in a bit. So it's not really an actively, I've got to completely change the style of this and completely, make it different. It's not really that. It's more like I'm gonna help them as much as I can, just guide them through, getting for the next World Cup and the every World Cup process, every 4-year cycle is, and then with the T20 team as well, they lost in the semis last World Cup, this World Cup trying to win. There's not really too much to be done. Yeah, there are certain like questions on it, like maybe finding a bowling replacement for someone like Chris Jordan, who's been like generally not up to the standards he has been in the last couple of years. I think he's just, I think he's sort of coming towards his end of his career, so it's not really a huge role. That's what I'm sort of trying to say. But so I think it's more of a challenge for anyone who wants to do test cricket, manage the test cricket team, because it's just too much. There's a lot to be done, and if he does it, it'd be amazing. But I don't think there's going to be huge expectations on it either, just because everyone knows it's a difficult project. There's not going to be. We're not going to start the moment he comes in. We're not going to start winning like 10 tests in a row. It's going to be a slow process, but as long as we go upwards rather than downwards, I think that's all we want. So obviously we've got the test head coach now, the white ball head coach. Who do you think's in the mix to be the white ball head coach, Zaid? Yeah, who do you think is going to be in the mix?
Yeah, it's a very difficult one. I think you just like as I mentioned before as well, it's got to be someone who, just is able to continue guiding through. They're obviously white ball cricket. They're fine. They're not struggling at all. So it's just really got to be someone who can continue that, or maybe someone, maybe someone like Mahela Jayawardene, who's had a very successful time with Mumbai Indians. Now the difficult thing is maybe now is not the right time for Jayawardene to come in because Mumbai Indians have struggled a lot this season. So maybe he wants to continue focusing on Mumbai Indians for the moment, and then but for future, like if Mumbai Indians maybe 2 years ago, if this situation was happening, then I think Jayawardene would be a huge contender for this role. But at the moment, he might not be. But it's just got to be someone who either has some success, experience and success in doing coaching in white ball cricket. Someone like Jayawardene who won loads of IPLs, but it could also be someone who is just is able to just continue the process, and not like Test cricket where England just needs to have a restart. It's got to be someone who can just continue the process, bring up younger players, as you said, and just got to be someone like that. And no names spring to mind immediately, but there's always loads of people out there. But those are two things I think it's either got to be one or the other.
Kumar Sangakkara is another one. I think Rajasthan Royals head coach. They've done pretty well this season. See, with Mahela, it's been 5-6 years, so it's that's sort of the time where you try and look for something new. So I think it's easily possible. You don't at around the 5-6 year period, it just tend to in jobs and like in terms of coaching as well in cricket. It's sort of like a period where you look for something new and you end it. So I think there's a very realistic chance he could be it. But also Rob Key, who's the managing director of England, of the ECB, he did mention, he's interested in he wants to see more homegrown coaches. So that could lead away for Paul Collingwood to be the ODI T20 head coach. And Paul Collingwood has a huge amount of experience in all three formats of playing. And he also, he's also been assistant coach to Chris Silverwood, and when Chris Silverwood before he got sacked, and Paul Collingwood did lead England in the last couple of test matches. So there's a realistic possibility, but homegrown coaches, there isn't too many options as a homegrown coach. But England coaches, there aren't that many, so I think you're going to have to look outside and then sort of work on increasing the amount of homegrown coaches there are. So lastly, I think what we'll finish off with is, so Brendon McCullum, what would you say are the pros of him being England Test head coach? What does he bring to the table? Because we've spoken a lot about negatives, he doesn't have much experience, but what does he actually bring to the table as a head coach?
Well, for me, we did say he doesn't have experience in the test sector, but overall he does have a lot of experience. He has played a lot of test matches when he was a player, and he's got experience with coaching in general with KKR, so he definitely has some idea of what he's doing. He has some, he could bring some ideas, from what he's learned with KKR. Obviously, it's T20 cricket, that's different, but there's always some similarities. McCullum, he could bring some of that style of coaching to the test cricket, and that'll be very interesting to see what he does. A new coach means new things. He's just got to. We'll see how that goes. Another thing, I think, his bonding with the players. I really like that with KKR. I think he's got a good bonding with the players. That he talks quite nicely. He really focuses on the players a lot, and they have good bonding. So that's another thing. I think that's what he brings to the table. And, he's definitely got. I still I think he might struggle, but obviously there's a lot everyone brings to the table. There's a lot McCullum brings to the table. He's a calm, chatty, cool person. He has a good bonding with the players, and he's got lots of experience. So that's what I think he brings to the table.
Yeah, I think I was just looking at KKR last season as well. They actually did pretty well. They qualified fourth and actually made it to the final in the end and were runners up to CSK. So it was a good season for them. So, Brendon McCullum's shown he's a capable coach and he's had a decent amount of experience. For now, all we can do is just we have to look for next season. For test matches in June. We don't really know what's going to be changed by then, but there's going to obviously be new players, new faces. Brendon McCullum will have an idea of who he wants in the team. So will Stokes. He's also mentioned Broad Anderson he wants to have back in the team. So we're going to see a slightly different England team, but an England team with a new leadership and basically a fresh England team. And it's a clean slate for them to start and to win test matches. And that's, in the end, all we want is for them to climb up the test rankings, to play good quality test cricket, score good runs up front, first innings, score a load of runs. Bowling wise, just bowl economically, take wickets. We want a good spinner who can, not get completely slogged by a batsman. So we generally what we expect from test team. That's all we want. And as an England fan, we've just got to hope for the best, basically. But we can, there's enough talent in the England team, and we've got good coaches, good captain, good managing director. We just got to see how it plays out. Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of the episode of Complete Cricket Podcast. Thank you for listening. If you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe, share with anyone you know who loves cricket, and tell us what you think about Brendon McCullum and his appointment.